Hey guys, today is Wednesday, the 20th. I'm not feeling well, but we're gonna just continue like I'm here. So you need to take notes on this. If you remember from what I talked about, yesterday was your last open note test. So the last time you're gonna be able to use notes on your test. So make sure you're taking really good notes from here on out, just because you're not going to have any to take. Chapter 4 is the criminal trial process. So I'm going to walk you through step by step from arrest all the way to sentencing. Okay. There's, I think, 13 steps. So you're going to need to know the steps for the test in order, and then know what each one is, or the details for each one. Okay. Before we get into anything, there's a Supreme Court case from 1966, Miranda v. Arizona. You guys have probably heard what Miranda rights mean. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you, so on and so forth. That reading of the rights, or making the individual aware of what their rights are, came from this case in 1966. A confession was allegedly said by this Miranda guy, and it ended up getting thrown out because he didn't understand what his rights were and what he was saying and all that stuff. So know that for the test. Before anything can be done, the Miranda rights have to be read, okay, to the individual, okay. And then you can just read that. I mean, it's basically the same thing. If the Miranda rights are not read, then anything that individual says or does, like if he says, yeah, I killed so-and-so to the police officer, but his rights weren't read, then it gets thrown out. I don't know if you guys have seen, 21 Jump Street or whatever the second one is, and they arrest these guys selling drugs, but they forgot to read the Miranda rights, and it gets tossed. That's kind of where all this comes from. Okay. The first step then in this whole process, the Miranda rights is not necessarily a step. Okay. So we're starting with step 1 is the arrest. And when someone is arrested, that's when they're deprived of their freedom. Okay. There's a difference between being arrested and being detained. Okay, a lot of people think that the handcuffs, by putting the handcuffs on, means that individual is arrested. That's not the case. Okay, you are arrested when the Miranda rights are read to you, or after the Miranda rights are read to you. Okay, you can be detained, you can be placed in handcuffs and detained and not be arrested. Okay, a lot of times police officers detain individuals for questioning, and they put handcuffs on them for their safety, for the safety of the officers. So again, just because handcuffs go on doesn't mean that they are arrested. Okay, it's after the Miranda rights are read, is when they're deprived of their freedom. Okay, with a warrant, a police officer can arrest an individual at any time. Okay, if they have the warrant, they can arrest the individual at any time. Now, I don't think you guys can hear this audio because I don't have the updated version, but I'm going to skip ahead to this. And he's talking about understanding the rights when it comes to police. So here's some, I'm going to fast forward.
These rights apply in many situations, including these rights
Come on.
apply in many situations that you've committed a crime.
Don't laugh. Okay, so search and seizure means when a police officer can search an individual. Okay, we talked about when an individual can be arrested with a warrant, but then this also applies to, like, if an officer pulls you over and they can search your vehicle, if they have a valid search warrant, if they have a valid arrest warrant, or this is the big one, reasonable belief that a crime was committed. Gosh darn it. Reasonable belief if a crime has been committed. Okay, so another way to look at that is probable cause. Right? Probable cause. This kind of talks about the Miranda rights a little bit. This is like actually what they are. You don't necessarily need to know that for the test, but you might have heard it like on a TV show, similar thing like that. And then again, this is the key reason why the Miranda rights are there. If any of your rights as an individual has been violated, then any evidence that is linked to that violation. So if you confess before the Miranda rights are read, then that confession can get tossed or thrown out. Okay. Here is specifically for the state of Indiana. They can search you. That's what the person means. You, your car, your house, or something else, if you give them permission, and this is again without a search warrant. Okay, without a search warrant. If he says, "Do you mind if I search your vehicle?" You say yes, they can search it. Okay. If you say no, then they will probably go and get a search warrant. Okay, if it's a big thing. Just a piece of advice: if you get pulled over and you're not doing anything wrong, even if you are doing something wrong, always comply with an officer. Okay, they ask you if they could search your vehicle, let them. Okay, especially if you're not hiding anything, don't try to be a jerk and say, well, no, that's not my rights and all that stuff. They have a very hard, difficult job, so make it easier, and it'll go a long way. I mean, if you get pulled over for speeding and you're polite and you allow them to search your vehicle and nothing's found, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to get a ticket. But if you kind of are a jerk about it and you resist and say, no, you can't search my vehicle, it's against my rights and blah, blah, you'll probably get a full ticket for whatever violation you were pulled over for. So just something to keep in mind. Now, in the state of Indiana, if you have ever been arrested before, a police officer can search you, your car, your house, anything. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So that all pertain to arrest. Second thing is booking. Okay, so you've been arrested, or you've been read your Miranda rights. You've been arrested. You are now in the back of the police car, heading to the jail to be booked. So the booking process, and like I said, I don't think that you can see this video, but this reporter went in to the jail to kind of walk through what is done at the booking. So they pull in, and you go and you fill out some paperwork. You'll talk about your background history. They'll fingerprint you. You have to empty your pockets and take off your shoes and all that stuff, and then they put it in a bag. You'll also meet with a nurse and discuss any of your health concerns if you're on any medication. They will do a thorough search of you. If you tried concealing something when the officer searched you, you're probably going to get a full search, which means you don't have your clothes on and they're doing kind of a full body thing, just so you know. And then they will, like I said, do your fingerprints, your mug shot. You'll get, if you're going to be staying there for a little bit, you'll get some jail clothes, or an inmate jumpsuit, stuff like that. They'll do a psych evaluation. So booking is when all of the initial, it's basically the initial procedure that starts the whole trial process, okay, after you've been arrested. At that point, you'll find out if there is a bail set. In the state of Indiana, a lot of offenses come with a set bail amount that the jail already knows. So like if it's a DUI or a possession charge, it comes with a set bail amount. Unless when during the booking process they find out that you have this long extensive record, you might not have a bail set until you meet with a judge at the initial hearing, which we'll talk about later. But bail is basically a deposit that is left with the court saying, yeah, they will come back. So you get bailed out of jail. You've probably heard that term. To get bailed out of jail, you have to pay the bail amount, which is usually 10% of whatever the bail is. Okay, so let's say it's $10,000. You have to pay $1,000 to get out, basically saying, here, take this $1,000. This shows that I will be going to court. If you don't show up for court, then you owe, and the bail bonds company owes the full amount. Okay. Now this video talks about the bail bonds process, but again, I don't think you guys can hear it. There are several in Fort Wayne, in Allen County, that talk about the bail bond process and all that stuff. But basically, what you need to know, it's a deposit or collateral that you put down that says, yes, I'm gonna, after I've been arrested and released from jail, you still have the whole, you have to still answer for your charges. Okay, and so by throwing down that 10%, you are saying that, yes, I will show up to answer to those charges. And if you don't, then the bail bonds company that backed you, it will be out that money. Okay. All right. So that is the first, really 2 steps of the criminal process, the trial process. So you've been read your Miranda rights. That's not necessarily a step. And the very first thing that happens to initiate this entire trial process is the arrest, which you are being deprived of your freedom. Okay. Once you are arrested, you're in the back of the police car. You're on your way to jail. You get to jail. The second step is the booking process, where your fingerprints are taken, your mug shots taken. You talk to the nurse. There's a psych eval, criminal background check. They do a thorough pat down or search of you. And then the bail process is kind of initiated at that time. Okay, we'll talk about the next few steps when I get back, hopefully on Thursday. Now what you need to do is go to Canvas, and there's an assignment in the same module that you accessed these notes. There's an assignment specifically on the bail bonds companies in Fort Wayne. You can learn a little bit more about that. All right. Please be very good for the sub, and hopefully, like I said, I'll see you tomorrow.